Knowing the pain of rebuilding from a severe storm, Ormoc residents give back to help Hurricane Harvey recovery. Changing the drinking habits of indigenous tribes, Tzu Chi successfully promotes tea drinking, earning good results. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Marilee Shoda. Thank you for joining us. After Hurricane Harvey made landfall in Houston, Texas, his destruction was felt in catastrophic ways by local residents. Tzu Chi volunteers in Texas have received calls for help and have begun to conduct disaster surveys of hard-hit areas to see what the survivors need before aid distributions could begin. We have heartwarming stories of residents from far and wide coming together to help Dickinson, Texas, one of the hard-hit towns impacted by the storm. Receiving a call for help from disaster victims, a group of Vietnamese Americans and Tzu Chi volunteers traveled to the hard-hit Dickinson, Texas to send hot meals to survivors as well as medical personnel.
The water was coming up so fast we were just bombarded with phone calls of rescue. We didn't have a lot of manpower at the time because it just hit us so fast. So we went out on Facebook and I put anybody that has a boat that wants to help rescue people out of their homes from this floodwater, please come to Dickinson. And they started falling out of the sky. I mean, anything that would float with a motor on it, or anything that would float, these people from out of town were coming in here and taking people out of their homes.
These people coming from all over the United States bringing us stuff, they don't know who we are, and it just grabs your heart and squeezes it.
I am from Ormoc, South Carolina. We came here to bring water, diapers, dog food, dog beds. You name it, we had it in the trailer. It took us 18 hours to get here.
The mayor of Dickinson, Julie Masters, worked with the local residents to organize and lay out the aid supplies, much like a supermarket would.
We were assigned to come down here to Dickinson, Texas, to set up a medical center inside the high school. So it's a basic emergency department, and we can provide full advanced life support capabilities. Pretty much most of your emergency department type treatment we can do here in the gymnasium at the high school.
It's a disaster. It is unreal. Everybody needs to join and help out.
I know there will be an ongoing need with this time of year for mosquito repellent. We can still take supplies for people out of their homes, toiletries, the cleaning supplies, gloves, masks, anything that would help them rebuild, to get back in their homes, because that's what we want.
It didn't matter who you were or who you are, or doesn't matter if you were here illegally, legally, didn't matter skin color, nationality, or anything. People were just coming together, and I got to experience it, and that it blew me away. And I'm just so humbled by it all. It's pretty awesome experience, and I'll never forget it as long as I live.
For those who can't reach the Houston area to help, there are other ways to show concern. Tzu Chi volunteers from many different parts of the United States mobilized to canvass for donations. Although some of them had to endure the hot temperature and brave the wind and rain, they still worked wholeheartedly to fundraise for Hurricane Harvey recovery.
Do you know anybody in Texas?
No.
And why are you doing this?
To help the people in Texas help their houses to rebuild so they don't die.
It is this kindness and compassion that led volunteers with different ages in New Jersey to canvass for donations in front of 19 different supermarkets. Tzu Chi volunteer Wang Shulin, who flew from Taiwan and just got off the plane, does not take a break either.
I don't have jet lag and I don't feel tired either. I hurried here to help fundraise for Texas flood victims.
Volunteers in Columbus, Ohio canvass for donations on the streets, although there are few people on the streets since it is the Labor Day holiday in the United States. The residents' love does not lag behind. Volunteers even brave the wind and rain to give instructions, invites the drivers to contribute their share. This love continues to relay from the east to the west. While it is windy and raining in Midwestern United States, the temperature of Las Vegas is as high as 46 Celsius degrees. Over the past few days, the high temperature of San Francisco Bay Area has broken the record, not to mention Las Vegas, which is originally like a stove. This volunteer brought his son, who is less than 2 years old, to join the rank. Although most of the volunteers take to shift to raise funds, some of them have been sticking to their post for 6 continuous hours from the morning to the afternoon without any complaint. They all say at the moment they are more fortunate than the residents of Houston. Although the temperature of Silicon Valley, Northern California in September is as high as 42 Celsius degrees, Tzu Chi volunteers still go outside to canvass for donations for Texas flood victims.
I want to let my children experience this activity and do their part to help. Compared with the residents in Texas, we're already very fortunate. Since I think children nowadays are very fortunate, we should use this chance to inspire their compassion.
These 2 high school students are deeply impressed by this charity event as they are canvassing for donations on the streets for the first time.
I've seen the news and how many houses have flooded down. Many of my family members, some of them are there. But I think it's a very educational experience.
With the love from many different states, it is believed that the residents in Houston can feel the warmth in their time of need.
Since Ormoc City of the Philippines has received relief aid from Tzu Chi volunteers worldwide in 2003 after Typhoon Haiyan struck this area, they now want to pay this lot forward to help raise funds for Hurricane Harvey recovery efforts. Tzu Chi Philippines chapter recently held a charity sale in Ormoc City.
To provide relief aids for Texas flood victims, Tzu Chi Philippines chapter hosts a charity sale in Ormoc City, which is attended by many kind-hearted residents.
The goods here are cheap. I feel happy because I know my money will be used to help those in need.
I want to take this opportunity to say thanks to Tzu Chi because with the medical services of their free clinic, my mother is able to see clearly now.
Ormoc City was once a severely affected area. In 2013, the devastation caused by Typhoon Haiyan displaced many people. In the aftermath of the disaster, Tzu Chi sprang into action to help build their homes.
When the Philippines encounter Typhoon Haiyan or any other disasters, people from all around the world feel for the disaster victims. Many Tzu Chi volunteers even dedicated themselves to helping the less fortunate when we had the most difficult time. Local volunteers were also willing to help canvass for donations.
No matter how much money the donators donate, the most important thing is their kindness.
Residents from Ormoc can relate to the pain of Texas flood victims. They do their part with generosity to help these fortunate people as well as pay back to society.
Students at Ming-Yi Primary School in Hualien began the new school year with new classrooms, courtesy of Tzu Chi's risk reduction construction project. While students of Huaden Junior High, who are also recipients of the construction project, began the new school year with a trip to the Hualien Jingsi Hall and recycling station to get to know Tzu Chi.
The musical performance at Hualien's Ming-Yi Primary School welcomes first graders to the campus, as well as the commencement of new classrooms. Tzu Chi helped rebuild 34 classrooms, 1 arts building, and 1 auditorium for the school using quake-resistant materials.
This is Hualien, where earthquake occurrence is high. If the new school buildings are quake-resistant, then we will feel safer letting the kids attend school.
For the students of Huaden Junior High School who are also benefiting from Tzu Chi's risk reduction construction project, On the eve of the first day of school, they took a field trip to the Hualien Jingsi Hall as part of their back-to-school program.
I hope the students can learn from the Tzu Chi Foundation and see how they use donations from others to help Taiwan and other needy corners of the world. It's my wish that these seeds of love be planted in their hearts.
希望把这样子的一个种子种在学生的心里面，在班上就可以遵守这样子的一个资源回收的过程。
During their half-day visit, the students also stopped at the Tzu Chi recycling station, as the principal hopes his students can take home environmental protection ideals to safeguard the new campus.
Some 20 years ago, there were many small and medium-sized business enterprises already operating in Myanmar by the way of partnering with local businesses. But in more recent years, Taiwanese businesses began flocking to Myanmar when the country instituted a number of major economic reforms. For example, Myanmar has been able to attract larger foreign investments as the government formed the Myanmar Investment Committee in 2012. Later in 2014, more benefits were given to foreign investments when the Special Economic Zone Act was put into place.
每一个不管多偏远的国家都有台湾人在。
In the 1990s, Lin Yanfu, who had just served his military service, came to Myanmar.
Everyone is relatively simple here. An environment 20 years ago let us feel that there should be a good opportunity here.
Lin Yanfu later married and had a son in Myanmar and started his local business. Conversing easily with his Myanmar staff, Wen Silang shows respect for his staff by speaking their language. After 20 years, his business model is that of cooperation with local businessmen.
This environment seems to be taking great leaps forward, and the changes are coming to Myanmar very quickly.
In response to rapid changes in Myanmar, business practices must be very flexible. From running a tea shop to a restaurant, he closely follows the pace of change in Myanmar.
As long as you have special secrets on your side and expertise, there's a good chance your business can easily survive here.
Earlier, many of the businesses were from the textile industry, as well as clothing. But after in 2011, most of the businesses which came were those that the country needed.
At the moment, there are about 300 Taiwanese businesses employing some 1,000 Taiwanese employees in Myanmar. In 2012, the government set up the Myanmar Investment Committee, which put forward a number of incentives such as foreign capital being able to take a 100% share of a company. But also 5 years of income tax exemption and export profits can also be reduced by 50%. In 2014, the Myanmar government launched a special economic zone law, allowing manufacturers in this area to be exempt from income tax for 8 years, with lease of commercial land extended for 75 years.
The limit of commercial enterprises leasing land can be considered long if it is for 50 years, but foreign investors can get 70 years, and in this special zone, it can stretch to 75 years.
One of the first Taiwanese businesses to invest was Daxin Industrial, who was followed by Asia Optical and Wettex Industrial. And in 2011, a number of manufacturers tied to traditional labor-intensive industries entered, such as Baochen Group and Century Iron and Steel entered along with others. Taiwan businesses have been very active in doing charitable works upon entering the country.
Today, 哪一个是米？这个是米，第一是米，这是油，这个白粉，这是盐。
Today's visit to the orphanage is particularly lively because Taiwanese businessmen are coming here to distribute materials and aid.
There are more than 200 children here, many of whom come here as a result of fighting in the north. This orphanage covers their basic needs from kindergarten to university.
All of a sudden, seeing so many orphans is quite shocking, as in Taiwan, we typically don't encounter such a situation.
This orphanage has the support of Chinese businessmen in Myanmar, but because of increasing number of orphans, it began to have a dilemma.
A friend told me that there were so many children that some would have to send away. I said it would be easy to get a few Taiwanese businessmen to donate some money every month, and we could take care of these easily.
Taiwan businessmen began to make regular donations to support the orphanage, but later they found out drinking water was a very serious problem here.
During the rainy season, they store water because the groundwater is salty and can't be used. So during the dry season, they rely upon this, what you see here.
During the dry season, the water quality becomes quite bad, so we decided to install this water purification equipment so the children won't get sick so easily.
After installing the water purification equipment, they learned there was still more work to do.
Before, in 2008, when the wind and flooding disasters hit, there was no place for children to go, and later the children also lacked classrooms and also a cafeteria. They hoped that Taiwanese businessmen could build a classroom. 3 years ago, we began preparing for this.
The new school building has filled everyone's heart with a home, and may also hope it can be a refuge for everyone.
Now that Taiwanese businessmen have donated to the children's basic necessities, we do not have to worry. Those who can be accommodated in the original space can sleep in the school now.
Leading Myanmar staff to do good works demonstrates good faith and a commitment to social responsibility, which has actually had some unexpected benefits.
We are doing great things. They also see that we are doing great things, and it is easier to negotiate when you run into unexpected problems and conflicts.
A simple kindness can create a cycle of goodness in crossing international borders and influence others. This is a win-win situation for both Taiwan and Myanmar, and it's the most beautiful bilateral diplomatic cooperation.
The prevalence of alcohol dependency among the indigenous people in Taiwan has long created problems. To safeguard the health of the indigenous people, Tzu Chi Foundation has been promoting an alcohol-free campaign in tribal villages. In the first part of our series on the effects of this campaign, we meet Wen Tianfu, who has successfully quit drinking and now influences his friends to drink tea instead.
Wen Tianfu, who has a wonderful voice, once had serious drinking problems. Then he got into a traffic accident because of drinking.
I drank and rode my motorcycle. After being hit, I was sent to the ICU, being unconscious for 3 months.
According to Hualien District Court's 2016 statistics, the indigenous people were involved in half of 391 drunk driving cases. Among them, some died, leading their families to become impoverished, creating vicious cycles.
When we first reached out to the indigenous tribes, the master reminded us to first improve the drinking problem in the tribes in order to lift people out of poverty.
Therefore, Tzu Chi began to promote an alcohol-free campaign in the tribe since 2012.
Alcohol can lead to poverty, drunk driving, domestic violence, and it is detrimental to one's health. Therefore, we want to raise tribal villages' awareness of the problem and drink tea instead of alcohol.
Nevertheless, alcohol brewing is a tradition passed down by the ancestors of indigenous people. Due to the outside culture and the government selling of liquor, it became easy to obtain alcohol. The poorer people are, the more likely they'll become addicted to alcohol.
If the mainstream society, especially the government, is trying to oppress his way of living, culture, or value system, this kind of situation will take place.
这个时候就会出现状况。
As Tzu Chi promotes its alcohol-free campaign at indigenous tribes, it calls upon the people to limit their alcohol intake, finding back the true cultural value of alcohol, and helping people to stay away from gout and liver problems.
They either had a stroke or died. They really drank too much.
We must look at the cases where people drank till they lost their health and died. We have come to encourage them to drink tea instead.
The foundation staff member also periodically visits those who have quit alcohol. Among them, Wen Tianfu has changed a lot. Since November of last year, inviting people to drink tea has become his way of socializing.
He no longer drinks, neither does my good friend. I often go visit and chat with him.
Currently, Wen makes efforts to persuade his friends to quit alcohol. The alcohol-free campaign has started to make a difference in the tribes. Some residents even proposed to form an association to promote tea drinking, hoping the tribal village can find its hope and vitality again.
Tzu Chi Philippines chapter held blessing ceremonies for the 7th lunar month to encourage people to adopt a vegetarian diet and to reduce their practice of burning joss paper as offerings.
Tzu Chi has been calling on people every year to burn less joss paper and to become vegetarians. As the Philippines suffer from typhoon attacks every year, the general public have sensed the disasters have become more serious.
We must all come together to save the only planet we live. Then there can be hope for us. We must come together because the more people we have, the more strength we have.
Tzu Chi Philippines chapter holds a prayer ceremony for the 7th lunar month at the Federation of Filipino Chinese Chamber of Commerce. The volunteers encourage everyone to make good vows and to become vegetarians. Besides doing good deeds, we must be filial too. At this prayer ceremony for the 7th lunar month, Tzu Chi volunteers arrange a tea serving event.
Happy Mother's Day.
Children serve tea to their parents. Some parents also serve tea to their mothers to show their gratitude.
Always remember to respect the elderly kasi no matter what, sila yung...
We must always remember to respect our parents because they are our roots and your support. If ye had suffered setbacks or become lost, they were your stepping stones.
The prayer teaches people to get rid of superstition and corrupt religious contacts. Many seize the occasion and pray for prosperity and peace.
Tzu Chi volunteers from Vancouver, Canada visited the YWCA to host a back-to-school distribution for students of low-income families. During the event, each student also received a helpful Jingsi aphorism phrase to get them through the school year. We'll leave you with these images at the end of the program. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time.